Hello and welcome to section 2, in which we're going to learn about Apollo links and how to use them to add a REST API to our existing job board application. First, we're going to learn about what is Apollo client links and how do they play in this picture and how they help us. The Apollo team has been working on Apollo client for quite a while, and the first problem that they encountered was the extensibility problem. So they've tried to put all the features that people needed, like batching and pagination and caching, all inside the Apollo client, and eventually ended up being very hard to scale and very hard to support. They also encountered the problem with the transport, where they needed different ways to interact with the GraphQL backend depending on what they're doing with it. An example of this is when they're using query mutations, they need to use HTTP protocol, while when you're doing things like subscriptions, you need to use WebSocket protocol. So what they came up with is an architecture of links, which is a composable architecture which allows you to use different links for different transports, but also add extensibility points at any time that you want. So you can extend the take HTTP link and add your own HTTP link with authentication. If you want caching, you can add a caching link, you can add a batching link, and that's exactly what they provide now in forms of different links. So let's look at the links which are actually available. There is an HTTP link, which is what is actually used under the hood. All the queries and mutations, we're already using it in our examples in the job board application. It is by default comes with the Apollo Boost for you. There is a WebSocket link, which also comes by default. We haven't been using it yet because we're not using subscriptions, but that's built in. If you're not doing any customizations, you just get it for free, and that's handles all subscriptions for you. There is a REST Apollo link, which we will be using in the next video, in this section, which will help us to take a HTTP REST API and put it inside Apollo client without actually writing any wrapper around it. We're just going to use directly REST, as you're going to see in the next video. And finally, there is a state link, which is a quite recent one. It helps you to do all the local state management inside Apollo client too, so you don't need to have a separate Redux library. If you have some state that you need to manage just on the client side, you don't want to synchronize it to the server side, you can do it with Apollo state link now. So those are 4 most common links that are used in Apollo. There is more of them available on the website, and you can find people developing their own too. When you're using multiple links, there's the notion of composition of links, and the order of composition is really important because when composing the links, they pass the information. The query gets passed from one link to another. So if we're composing them in incorrect order, it might not have the desired results. And a good example of this is an HTTP link, which is actually a terminating link. Terminating links, they do not pass information any further. So that means that HTTP link needs to be the last link in your composition chain. Otherwise, it's just going to stop there and none of the links will be executed. And the reason it's done this way for HTTP link is because it's actually sending it over to the backend, and we need to strip all the information from the query, all the external, all like pragmas that we add there, so that our GraphQL backend will actually understand what this query looks like just from a GraphQL perspective. So I include some references. You can read more about the concepts and the introductory blog post that the Apollo team did for the links. And